this meeting, so we'll get rolling. I have a recommendation here moved by Brian and seconded by Dan that the agenda for the November 2nd, 2021 Township of Wellington North Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee meeting be accepted and passed. All in favor? Great, thank you. I have no pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor?
No, sir.
Dan?
Nope.
Great. We'll go on, and you'll see the minutes of the previous meeting from October 5th were approved by our council on the 12th of October. I have no business arising from those minutes. Deputy Milne?
No, sir.
Councillor Yake?
None.
Great. We have no deputations today, and we'll, gosh, we're ahead of schedule by 3 minutes, so we'll get right into the ad hoc committee updates, and I will pass this over to you, Matt. And I've this is for the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee meeting of October 19th, 2021. I have a recommendation moved by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive the minutes of the October 9th meeting of the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park and Ad Hoc Committee, and further that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend to the Council of the Township of Wellington North the following appointments to the skate park RFP evaluations. That is Al Rollins. So I will pass this over to you, Director of Operations. Matt.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. And just as a point of housekeeping, on the second page, there's also 4 names that are associated with the evaluation committee. So as it relates to that meeting, there was a meeting held October 19th, and the main purpose of the meeting was to go over the scope of the RFP that's going to be issued for the BMX skate park. And coming out of that meeting, the big items that were discussed were that the BMX component of the new amenity was removed from the scope. So the focus of the RFP is going to be on the skate park component and the pump track component. And I think some of the discussion around that, or to arrive at that conclusion, was that the BMX park being sort of a gravel type surface, drainage and just upkeep of that was going to be challenging. And committee decided, or is making the recommendation, that they'd rather spend money, kind of focus the money on 2 amenities that they can really do well, instead of spreading it over 3 amenities that one of which, the BMX portion, that they might not end up I guess enjoying as much. But the BMX park is still something that in the future could be added to the scope of that project. And consistent with the recommendation, the other part of the discussion was around the evaluation of the RFP. So the RFP has been structured to provide upper limits with respect to cash, or not cash, but budget. So the main part of the project is an upset limit of $180,000, and then a provisional item of $20,000. And the idea there is that the $180,000 is what the Lions have raised to date. And then over and above the $180,000 will be, there's been allotted $20,000 for a concrete slab. And then a provisional item of $20,000 is envisioned to be extra features for the resulting park that, if fundraising allows, we would be able to pull the trigger on once we get kind of the proposals and the designs in. And then as laid out in the recommendation, it was proposed at who the evaluation committee will be for the RFP. And I think by and large, that was the big discussions that happened as part of those minutes, but certainly open to any questions specific to that meeting or the RFP more generally if they come out.
Thank you for that, Matt. Any questions from the committee, Dan or Brian?
No, I'm okay.
Any comments on, excuse me, I guess do we have to appoint a municipal staff member to this committee for the evaluation for the RFP, Matt or Mike, or I know I can't do it. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I would probably just leave it open-ended at this point in time. And then in January, someone from staff can be assigned to that.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Any questions, comments?
No, I'm okay.
Great, thank you for that, Matt. And sorry, I just heard an echo from somewhere. All good? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. We will go on to again, another Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee for the 27th. And I have a recommendation here moved by Deputy Mayor Milne and seconded by Dan, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive the minutes of the October 27th meeting of the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee. I will pass that over to you again, Matt.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. So this was a morning meeting that was held to discuss proposed location for the skate park and the pump track. And coming out of it, we sort of spent an hour discussing it. And as you can see, there was no resolution that came out of it, but there was an informal gathering plan for later that day. So really at this meeting, it was just a lot of discussion with respect to the proposed location, but no recommendations or resolutions that resulted from that meeting.
Excuse me, and I can excuse me. Excuse me, and I can talk a little bit further to this. Myself and Glenn Cheney and Scott Rendell, who is the current president of the Optimist Club in Arthur, and the incoming President Owen O'Donnell was at this quick meeting. Was that? Yeah, that was that one. And yeah, and we just had a quick meeting, like it says in the report, just to step things out. And you'll see as we go through this meeting what occurred out of that. Optimists are more than amenable with moving some of the horseshoe pits and accommodating the skateboard and pump track. So if you have any questions at all, Dan or Brian.
Oh, I'm okay.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, we have that recommendation on the floor. All in favor? Great, thank you very much. So we'll go on to the next one, and it is also the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee of October 28th, 2021. And we have a recommendation that the Rec, Park and Leisure Committee receive the minutes of the October 28th meeting of the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park and Ad Hoc Advisory Committee, and further that the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee recommend the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend to the Council of Wellington North dedicate the presented lands at 308 Tucker Street, site layout option 6, be included within the Township's RFP for the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park. And further, that committee recommend to the Rec, Parks and Leisure that recommend to the Council direct staff to investigate an alternate location configuration for the existing horseshoe pits at 308 Tucker Street as required to accommodate the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park. I will say that Dan, you moved that. It was seconded by Brian, and we'll open the floor for discussion, and I'll pass it back over to you, Matt.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Chair McCabe. And on page 19 of the agenda package is the layout that was ultimately arrived at the meeting, and that conversation that happened at that committee meeting was informed by the discussion that happened the night before. As part of the discussion the night before, and with the boundaries of the land that's shown on page 19, it's a given that the horseshoe pits will very likely have to move, which is why that's been included as part of the recommendation. Right now, and the way that land is scoped, the volleyball court can stay. But again, ultimately, once we get the proposals in, we'll have a better understanding of how that area is going to be laid out. And ultimately, we're going to have to find locations for, right now, there's 8 horseshoe pits. The optimist's wishes are to have 6 horseshoe pits. So we'll be looking to find locations for 6 horseshoe pits. But we think we'll have the land available there once some more of those unknowns become more known. Yeah, and I think some of the discussion that we had on site, and then the next morning at the next meeting, was can we save the volleyball court, maybe move it a quarter turn so it's parallel with the first baseline there against the ball diamond, and then include the 6 horseshoe pits. I don't know if you can see the fence line there on the other side. I guess I would say the right side of the pavilion. But ultimately, we are going to have to wait to see what the designers come back with for the RFP. As you know, there's 3 designs, I believe, for each submission. So we'll have more knowledge on that of where things can go, and if we do need to move the volleyball pit altogether or get rid of it, that's we'll have to cross that bridge in January. Yeah, like I said earlier, the optimists are willing to work with the Lions and still keep their pits that they use for the long weekend. So any questions or comments for Matt or myself? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. I mean, I really shouldn't and don't have an opinion necessarily on this, but it strikes me when I look at the diagram here that things are very congested there. I mean, and if the end users are satisfied that they're okay with it there, then I'm fine with it too. But I'm just wondering, I guess, to Matt, is there not another space that's less congested? Like you maybe going to get some conflict between the volleyball court and the users of the skateboard track, or even the ball diamonds for that matter, because like I said, things look rather congested there, but maybe they look different on the ground. I don't know, but I'd look for some comments, Matt.
So sorry, before I go to Matt, I should have mentioned, Brian, that along the first baseball line, there are going to be safety nets up there. So any errant foul balls are going to be caught by that the netting on the kind of where the top portion of that blue rectangle is, and then the kind of the top side of the pavilion. So that will have safety nets. But sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Chair McCabe. Yeah, it's gonna fill up that area. The I guess the images of 60 by 136 feet, and on the east side, I think it's maybe 225 feet. I think what the Lions would ultimately, what the Lions' vision is really that it's a 50 by 100 foot pad, so it wouldn't be necessarily filling up that whole area. But I think what we're trying to do is give the design team as much land to work with as possible, because they might envision using it differently than we would. But certainly it's a full area. And when you look at that image, sort of the bottom right-hand corner is where long-term the BMX track would be envisioned. But that property in general is full. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. And I would suggest that we're not pigeonholing ourselves into a 50 by 100 foot square. we're not professionals on designing, and neither is staff. And so yeah, we're going to kind of leave that up to the designers. Excuse me, Mike, I see you opening up, so go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things, and hopefully they help a little bit in terms of the discussion of the location. The existing trees there, Brian, we thought provide a visual barrier from the adjoining residential property as well as the roadway itself. These skate tracks, there is some noise associated with them, so we're trying to be conscious of that as well. The other part is isolating the skateboard park creates its own problems, and I don't want to necessarily lend what those problems are, but I'm sure you can probably anticipate small fires and things of that nature when they're in a isolated area are not uncommon. So having it somewhere where there is some other activity going on was an appeal for me anyways, but yeah, so.
Yeah, fair point. Barbecues aren't always unwelcome, but whatever. Yeah, I get it.
Thank you for that, Mike and Brian. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call the recommendation to call. All in favor? Thank you very much. Excuse me, and we'll move on to the next, the reports, and this is RFP 2021-011, the Brent Barnes Memorial Skate Park, and that's on page 17. And I have a recommendation here that the Rec, Park, and Leisure Committee recommend the Township of Wellington North endorse the scope of the work as presented. I will pass that off to you again, Matt.
Yep, thanks, Chair McCabe. We've covered a lot of the material that make up that RFP, as far as the scope of work being the skate park and the pump track. Of particular attention might be on page 28 of the RFP. There's a listing of minimum equipment, and the minimum equipment listing was the September ad hoc committee, in which some students from Arthur attended and kind of provided some recommendations on the equipment that they would like to see at the park. So we've tried to capture that as minimum equipment that all the design teams will give consideration to. We've touched on the dollar amounts as far as the main part of it being scoped at $180,000, the provisional item being a $20,000 touch. It's written such that the Lions or the community group will be responsible for pouring the concrete pad, and the evaluation committee we've talked about. So it's kind of, that document, I guess, just reflects a lot of the conversation that has happened at that ad hoc committee over the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks.
Thank you for that, Matt. Any questions or comments for Matt?
No, I'm okay.
Great, thank you. Then I will call for the vote. All in favor? Great, thank you very much. And we will go on to the 2022 rec rates and fees amended, and that's on page 30. I have a recommendation moved here by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2021-019, being a report on the 2022 recreation rates and fees. And further, that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the 2022 rec rates fees as amended. This is your show tonight, Matt, so have at it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chair McCabe. This one's just an amendment to our existing fees and charges bylaw for 2022 recreation services items. So we try to put those bylaws out a year in advance because lots of people are planning things a year in advance. But I guess when we were doing the 2023 iteration of the fees and charges bylaw, it was thought that some of the items that are mentioned within the report, we would just kind of do a housekeeping update for the 2022 recreation rates and fees. So there's a couple items there as far as just some related to setup and cleanup that are things that we're finding people are asking for. So it's just including those items in the charges so they're easier to administer going forward. The Mount Forest South green space, that was the green space used for the demolition derby. Again, 2 or 3 months ago, we put through a special resolution for that charge. This kind of just covers it off that next year it's already in the rates and fees bylaw. And yeah, the Braun Cross item, again, that's just the idea of trying to make that program as accessible to people as possible, because on the operation side of the swimming pool, you know, we don't have a lot of lifeguards sort of in the hopper to help us with those pool operations. So the thought is, if we reduce the fee there, we'll have maybe more uptake in that program, and that would give us a bigger population of lifeguards to draw from in the future.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments, Dan or Brian?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right, thanks, Dan. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. Matt, I'm wondering that the meeting rooms and halls in the Mount Forest complex, is there a non-resident user fee for those facilities, the same as there is for the ice surface or the arena floor?
I am going to defer that to Tom or Mandy if either can help, please.
And I see you're up on the screen, or Tom. Either one of you want to jump in on this? Go ahead.
Sure, through you, Chair McCabe. We do not have a non-resident fee for hall usage at this point in time. No.
So I guess if I could, Mr. Chair, I'd ask why the non-resident fee on the arena floor and not on other facility or other facilities within that facility in Mount Forest.
Carry on, Mandy.
Sure, thank you. Through you, Chair McCabe. When reviewing neighboring municipalities, most do not apply a non-resident fee for their small halls, meeting rooms, and auditoriums. The fees are typically applied to the floor during the summertime, ice during the wintertime, and baseball diamonds. So we went along the same lines as that when we were comparing our fees to neighboring municipalities.
Right. And I guess just to be clear, does that fee apply to Southgate as well?
Yes, so the non-resident fee would apply for non-residents in Arthur and Mount Forest.
Well, okay, I might as well forge ahead.
Yep, keep going.
Southgate made a significant investment in that facility with the understanding that there would be no non-resident fees charged to Southgate residents to use that facility. It sounds to me like that's changed, and I'd like to know why, please.
Tom, you want to jump in here?
If I may, I don't think we've ever charged a Southgate resident with that out-of-town fee. That fee is more for Minto residents, West Gray. When we signed that agreement with you guys years ago, it was not written in our rules, but we know you guys are a part of us.
Okay, thank you. As long as that's understood, I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Well, and a fair question, good point raised. Thanks for that, and thanks, Mandy and Tom. Any other questions or comments? All right, I will call that recommendation to vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. On to the next, and it is the, excuse me, RPL 2021-017, the summer programs on page 42. I have a recommendation here moved by Deputy Mayor Milne and seconded by Councillor Yake that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2021-017 being a report on summer programs, and further that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North endorse a $4,000 training budget increase to support costs associated with the lifeguard certifications. I will open this up to you, Mandy. There we go.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. So the report that's before you is kind of a recap of our year in programming for the Recreation Department. We speak to the aquatics programming. So the Arthur Pool opened from June 21st to August 27th, and Mount Forest opened from July 12th to August 28th. The Mount Forest pool was delayed in opening due to the liner in the shallow end needing to be replaced. And the Arthur Pool received Ontario Trillium Foundation funding of $18,200. And that was for 2 outdoor showers, an emergency exit on the deck, and a new desk with a sneeze guard. We were able to have 141 children and youth participate in our swimming lesson program. And those were mostly private lessons. There were quite a few semi-private as well. And what the semi-private was it allowed people to create their own bubble groups of 4 individuals, and that limited the risk of exposure for people in classes. Our swim passes this year, because of uncertainty with pool operations, we didn't know if we would have to close the pool based on capacity limits or if we didn't have enough staff, etc. We decided not to issue swimming passes up front, and instead what we did through the contact tracing, we kept track of who came into the pool, and then once they met that dollar value or the number of visits value, then we would allow them in for free after that. So it was just an easier way of being able to track who was entering the pool. In total, Arthur saw 2,271 admissions and Mount Forest 1,946. Now, some of the challenges associated, which Matt had already spoke to during the rates and fees discussion, is that due to staffing constraints, we had to marginally reduce and modify our schedule. And unfortunately, some of those challenges impacted the morale of the lifeguard team. But it's important to note that while the township did experience these negative impacts due to staffing shortages, we're not unique. And the Life Saving Society of Canada actually communicated that they're adopting 15 years as the minimum age prerequisite, and that was previously 16. So for this certification, a swim instructor, life instructor, or national lifeguard can now obtain that certification a year earlier, which is great because that will draw on the pool for us to pull from. And they see that change as the first step in addressing chronic staff shortages in the aquatics industry. So to further complement that, what the National Life Saving Society is doing, we're looking to address our local lifeguard shortage by recommending a following approach, which will have an approximate impact on the annual operating budget of around $4,000. And that's one, to retain. So trying to retain our current lifeguards would be to cover 100% of the costs to recertified lifeguards in their national lifeguard and their swim instructor. Number 2 would be to recruit. So as a way to recruit new lifeguards, we would recommend that the township cover 50% of the cost to certify a national lifeguard and 50% to certify a swim instructor. And that training would be organized through us, the township, and there would be an agreement signed so that they would stay on board with us to the duration of that summer. And then the third is the succession, which is a way to build in succession planning for lifeguards. So that's by reducing the bronze medallion and bronze cross costs. So I'll maybe stop there with the aquatics, and then I can go through the summer day camp, if that's okay.
Sure. Any questions or comments so far, Dan or Brian? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I just wanted to say I applaud your efforts to encourage young people to get more involved with the lifeguarding skill. I think that's a very good attempt, and I wish you well with it.
Great.
Thank you.
Dan?
Just, yeah, you know, it's always good to try to encourage more people to become lifeguards or swimming instructors. I hope it works. The staffing issue is difficult in every aspect of life these days. So, you know, I hope it works, and I hope that we can get the number of lifeguards needed to keep these pools viable.
Thank you, Dan. And yeah, by opening up the pool by a year and 15-year-olds get in, and hopefully that sparks some interest as well. So yeah, looking forward to that. All right, Mandy, please carry on.
Okay, thank you, Chair McCabe. Thank you. So the summer day camp program, it was operated out of the Arthur Community Center Upper Leisure Hall in the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex in the Plume Room. And that program ran from July 5th through to August 27th. To accommodate the physical distancing that we required, we had to cap the participant number around 22. Some weeks we were able to go a little bit higher because we could still maintain the distancing that was required. But the 22 really kept us in a safe place. One thing to note was that according to the Chief Medical Officer of Health guidelines, we did have to send children home if they displayed any one symptom related to COVID. And that also meant that their siblings had to go home as well. So there was an impact to our revenue based on that. If a child went home, we did offer a refund for the days that they were missing or absent. And in some instances, we did have families make the decision to keep their children home for the full 14-day isolation period. So that meant that we had to refund the entire week of their camp. Some of the challenges with the day camp program is the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex is a wonderful facility, but it does offer limited activities for children just due to its location. The distance to the pool, splash pad, and the lack of sidewalks create a challenge to expanding the program offering. And so as such, we reached out to the Mount Forest Curling Club to see if we would be able to exclusively rent their space from June until August. And the Mount Forest Curling Club agreed and thought that that was a good idea for their use of space over the summer when they typically do not have many rentals. So the cost to exclusively rent the club would be $650 per month. And that would allow us to use the club room and floor from June until August without impact to other user groups. So that will free up the Plume Room in the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex for meetings again. And it'll also stop with some of the noise. I think there was quite a bit of noise carrying through from the kids out on the floor laughing and playing. So that should stop with the meetings that we have there as well. Now the floor at the Curling Club, we won't be able to use it for sports, but we can use it for other activities such as parachute, circle, and tag games. And then just going into the financial considerations section of the report, in 2021, we were very fortunate with our Canada Summer Jobs application. I'd like to thank Chanda for submitting those applications. We received 8,981 for our pools and 26,941 for our day camp staff. So the pool revenue and expenses that you see in the table below, it does not include the Canada Summer Jobs funding. We had budgeted a loss of 58,900 for Arthur, and our actual was 52,270. And in Mount Forest, our budgeted loss was 56,075, and our actual was 82,669. And the reason Mount Forest was slightly over budget, or quite a bit over budget, is because of the additional expense of approximately $30,000. Which is attributed to the liner in the shallow end of the Mount Forest pool. And then if we look at our day camp revenue and expenses, we budgeted a loss of 7,300 and our actual in Arthur was 12,400. And in Mount Forest, it was 5,400 and our actual was 8,900. So, and part of the reason for some of the actuals being higher is having to refund some of those children their day camp registrations, also for the additional cleaning expenses that went into that.
Great, thank you for that, Mandy. Any comments or questions? Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Steve. Andy, I'm wondering about the splash pad. Do you have any statistics on, I know it might be kind of hard to give amount of people that used it, but just any similar stats on finances and users and that kind of thing for the splash pad?
So I might defer. Yep.
Matt has come on board, so we'll let Matt
okay.
share that or answer that. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Chair McCabe. I don't have any information on that. I know the water department tells me how much water it uses, but save and accept that, Tom might be able to answer that better.
And Tom, go ahead. I see you have popped up, so.
Chair McCabe, I don't have stats on it, but yes, we did go through quite a bit of water, and I don't have that paperwork in front of me either. I can get it for you and have it for the next meeting if you want.
Sure. If I might, Mr. Chair, I'd love to see those numbers, because I've kind of, I mean, I see the numbers here for the pool and I'm thinking, wow, for such a relatively short season and a relatively small number of users, you know, the splash pad, well, I'd need to see the numbers. I wonder if the splash pad might be a better economic case. I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Tom.
We wouldn't be able to get you actual how many people use it. We can get you the volume of water is really what we can do, or the costs associated with that. Sure.
Yep. No, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. That would be good. I like the agility and flexibility and the willingness for Mount Forest Curling Club to rent out their space. It's good money for them, and then it gives us space for the summer camps as well. So, Dan, I see your hand up as well.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. You know, obviously the numbers don't look good, but hopefully moving forward, hopefully with COVID maybe in our rear view mirror a little bit, things will be better next year. It's there's certainly, like I say, the numbers aren't really that good. And I guess just back to the comment about the curling club, it's good, I guess, for the curling club. It's unfortunate that we have to leave our own facility to rent a facility at $650 a month. That's, I mean, obviously good for them, but it's too bad for us. And maybe we can come up with a way to fix that issue at some point in time.
Well noted, Dan. Thank you. Matt, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. Just in response to Member Yake's comment, is that once the pool is built, that'll change the dynamic at Princess Street, and a refresh or a rehab of the Campbell Divert Park will kind of change the recreation amenities that exist sort of on Princess Street. So I don't know if the curling club will be a long-term home, but certainly for 2022, just its proximity to Bill Moody Park and the splash pad present some programming advantages.
Yeah, hopefully this is temporary, but it does help out the curling club in the meantime. So thanks for that, Matt. And Mandy, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? Excuse me. Thank you for that. We'll move on to the Donald Softball Diamond update. This is a verbal. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I think we skipped over the 2023 fees and charges. So
I apologize. We might have. Sorry. Sorry if we did. So I'll go back to the 2023 recreation rates and fees, and I have a recommendation moved here by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne, that the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information report RPL 2021-020, being a report on the 2023 Rec rates fees, and further the Rec, Parks and Leisure Committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North approve the 2023 recreation rates and fees. And I'll open the floor to you, Matt, and thank you for catching that.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Chair McCabe. Yeah, there's a report before you that goes through and details any of the changes that were over the 2% threshold. As Mandy had described, there was an activity of comparing our fees with some of our neighboring municipalities to make sure they're aligned. But certainly if there's anything within that report or in the body of that report that the committee would like us to speak to specifically, where staff is available.
Thank you, Matt. Any comments, questions, or concerns for this?
I won't go through my spiel again for this one.
You out-of-towners, eh? All right, seeing none, the recommendation is before us, and I'll call for the vote for the 2023 recreation rates and fees. All in favor? Great, thank you. Heading back to the Donald softball diamond update. This is a verbal report, and I will, we have the recommendation on the floor, I believe, and I will pass this over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. Yeah, just a verbal talk about what's going on over there. We actually have got started with all the bad weather. We've got Reeveses have been in. They've done the drainage on the infield. They haven't tied into the storm sewer connection yet. They're supposed to come and do that the rest of this week at some point. Hopefully the weather works for them. Modern fencing has been in. They've removed the old fencing from the infield, installed new pipes or poles. They've also moved the players' benches. We had talked about that. They can move them up the line a little bit. So that's all in place, and you can see that now. The Marco clay people have been in. They came in yesterday with loads of clay. If you want to roll around in the red clay, it's lots of it over there. They're waiting. They're trying to get it dried out so they can get on and get their work done, and they're hoping to be done by the end of the week with the clay on the diamond. And then the fencing company will come back and put the fence up. So hopefully that all gets done. Some of the upper fence above home plate may not go on this winter. They're worried about the wetness of the ground and the weight of that fence up high, maybe moving the poles. So if they don't get it done this fall, they'll be back first thing in the spring to get it up for us. But we're in shape. Hopefully with the rain and the snow stops for a little while, we'll get it finished up and we'll be ready to go in the spring.
It's great to see that progress moving ahead, and yeah, the weather. Too bad the weather hasn't been really with us that much, but progress is there, and yeah, they have to put the backstop up in the spring. Kind of so be it. So, any questions for Tom, Dan, or Brian? Great. Has the Donald family been in and around to see the work that's being done so far? Tom, do you know? I'm just kind of curious.
No, I haven't seen Jim. Quite often he'll stop to see me, but he hasn't been in for a couple of weeks. So I'll maybe reach out to him later this week and see if he wants to come take a look.
Great. Yeah, and even maybe if a picture with him while the clay is getting put down might be good for prosperity. I think that's kind of neat to have that family connection there for sure.
I'll get him a shovel.
Even better. That's great. Thank you. All right, that recommendation is on the floor. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. We have items for consideration, and this is the correspondence with the Arthur Senior Center in the Damascus Hall community, and that was dated on October 14th, 2021, and on page 47. And I have a recommendation moved here by Deputy Mayor Milne and seconded by Councillor Yake, that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee received for information the correspondence with the Arthur Senior Center in the Damascus Hall dated October 14th, 2021. I will pass this over to you, Matt.
Yep, thanks. Thanks, Chair McCabe. So it is a little different than what we discussed at the last meeting when we ended up talking to the Arthur seniors Their preference was to keep that facility closed to the end of the year. So that's the way that letter reads. And then the other letter just really details that when there are bookings at the Damascus Hall, the township is hiring security to attend that event to check for proof of vaccination. So yeah, just those letters, we've been including them. But the Arthur Senior Center, in discussion with them following the committee meeting, the wishes of the executive was to just keep that facility closed to December 30th and have the township continue to waive those fees till the end of December.
Great, thank you, Matt. Any questions for Matt, Dan, or Brian?
No, I'm good.
Great. I have just a quick one. I've noticed in the Arthur Curling Club that you could scan your QR code. Are the security guards going to have that there, Matt, or is it just going to be proof of their double vaccination? Just curious, sorry.
Yep, I would defer that to Tom. He would maybe know that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, the security guards already have that. We have that on our staff cell phones too. So
okay,
if they have the QR code, we can read them, but we'll take both.
Yep, okay, great. I know I have my double vax, but I don't, I guess I probably should get my QR code just to make it a little bit simpler, but no, just a quick question on that. That's great, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call this recommendation to a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll move on to the roundtable. I have nothing. Councillor Yake?
I don't think I have anything either.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Just one query. I got a meeting invite to the aquatic
ad hoc for Mount Forest.
That one, yeah. What can somebody help me, please, with that, Mandy? Please.
Yeah, go ahead, Mandy.
Thank you, Member Milne, through you, Chair McCabe. That was a mistake on my part. I was sending out invites for the meeting and I uploaded the wrong CSV file.
Excellent. So I'm not required to attend.
No, my apologies for that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you for that.
I wouldn't want to take Councillor Yake's spot on any committee otherwise.
I was going to be waiting for you to pick me up.
Well, I can do that, although I'm not sure we go to any meetings.
I think I maybe got the invite by mistake as well. I'm not sure.
Well, I think you should go.
Okay.
I'll let Mandy clarify that with you, Dan.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Member Yake. I apologize. It went to the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee instead of the Mount Forest Aquatics Ad Hoc Advisory Committee first. So my apologies again.
No problem. I'm sure Brian has time
to see that you guys are checking your emails.
I'm sure Brian has time for more meetings.
Nice to see you on top of your emails. That's
absolutely. Well, if all the meetings would trip along as quick as this one has, I'd go to more.
We run a tight ship here on the rec committee.
Very well chaired today, I must say.
Pardon me?
Very well chaired today, I must say.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I thought Steve was chairing this.
I don't have anything on the roundtable. Matt or Mandy, Tom, or Mike? Go ahead, Matt.
Yep, I would just mention, so the architect has been engaged and we've entered a contract with them with respect to the conceptual design for the pool. So it's looking like next week is going to be the kickoff meeting for that project. And latter part of last week, the electrical contractor or Wagler Electric was on site at the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex, just increasing the size of the concrete pad for what will ultimately be the home to the facility generator. So both those projects are ongoing, just as an FYI for committee's awareness.
Great, thank you, Matt. Mandy, you've popped up.
Thank you, Chair McCabe. Just for committee's awareness, the majority of the wayfinding signs in Arthur and Mount Forest have been installed now. There are a few in the Main Street area that will be installed in the coming days. We are just waiting for a black wrap on the back side of those ones on the Main Street, and then they will be installed. So far, we've received positive comments. One sign had to be moved just because of its location, but that was a minor adjustment on our part.
Yeah, I think they look fantastic. They stand out, but not they're not obtrusive at all. And yeah, I think they're a great addition. Yeah, and if we had to only move one, then so far so good. I have nothing more for my roundtable or the roundtable here. I don't know, Mike, if you're good, we can move on. You're good, perfect. Well, that was a nice quick meeting, 52 minutes. I have a recommendation here moved by Councillor Yake, and then seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne, that the Township of Wellington North Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee meeting of November 2nd, 2021 be adjourned at 4:52 p.m. We'll call that to a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike, everyone, for your participation today. Great report.
Thanks, Steve. Just a quick question for Mike. Do you know what time on Sunday the Remembrance Day service is in Holstein? Because the Mount Forest Legion looks after it.
I haven't seen that. I was actually working with Kathy last week, or asking Kathy if we'd seen for all of the times and the details as it relates to parade, just cenotaph, all right. So I haven't seen that, Brian, to be honest. No.
Okay. Maybe it'll be in this week's, well, yeah, probably will be in this week's paper. You don't happen to know, Dan?
I don't know, Brian. No, sorry.
Yeah, it's usually 1:30, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there, but I haven't just seen that yet. So, all right, that's good.
I will get a hold of the Mount Forest Legion for you, Brian, and get back to you. How about that?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Have a good evening, all.
Yes, thank you very much. Stay warm, stay dry, and take care, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much for joining.